Hi everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative, and today we are going to do a bit of an experiment. I was watching Tim Holtz, and I use alcohol inks in my resin, and I've played around a little bit with it on cardstock. And when I say that, the Yupo cardstock they have out there, and I've done it on some of the hard pressed paint pieces, oh my gosh, canvases. That took me a second to think about. And it got me thinking a little bit about doing something different with using resin. Now, we've mixed alcohol inks in our resin, or we have poured our resin and then, put the alcohol ink into the resin and then let it set. But I decided I want to treat it sort of like I would Yupo paper. I want to pour some resin. I want to let it set. I want to play with the alcohol inks because it won't absorb into the resin, or I don't think it's going to absorb into the resin because the resin will have set. Play around with it a little bit. My next thought was, once that was done and once it was dry, I would then make up some more resin, pour it over top, and then I was going to make up some mixed mold and pour that on top. Now, I know there is an issue with the fact that mixed mold doesn't like to stick to resin. I've done a couple of, sort of little tests where I've managed to have it stick, which is brilliant. And one could ask, so why would you not do your mixed mold resin, alcohol inks resin, just because we know the resin will stick to the mixed mold? And one of the only reasons is that I know that when I do my mixed mold, as it sets and it sort of firms up, sometimes it can pull away. And I don't really want resin around the side of this. So I thought if I did resin, alcohol inks, resin, and then mixed mold, that hopefully, fingers crossed, that my mixed mold would stick to my resin. Like we've seen examples of that where that has actually occurred, where it's, stuck with the resin. So I want to do that. Now, the other thing I could potentially do is, put a very thin layer of resin on top of the mixed mold, but that may not help me with, the layer of resin and then the mixed mold. So we're gonna play. We're gonna see what happens. I think the biggest part of this example is wanting to play around with the alcohol inks on cured resin, and then, pour resin on top of it and see what happens, if anything at all. And one could say, well, why even bother with the mixed mold? I thought the mixed mold would be kind of cool, I think leaving it pure white to see how the colors from the alcohol ink would stand behind, look with that white background. So it may not be much of a, fancy any kind of thing for some of you, but for me it was like, let's play, let's see what we can do. So I'm using one of the old coasters that I got at a garage sale, just because. And so we're just going to pour this. Now I've seen another piece of dust. Oh, now I've lost it again. I keep seeing dust in my molds, and it probably really doesn't matter, but that's not coming out. Just give me a second. Yeah, I missed it altogether. So yeah, I wanted to give this a go. I've made up 40 mils of resin. I'm just trying to think of what I've got that'll cover this up when I want to cover it up. Yeah, that'll work fine. Okay, so I've done 40 mils of resin. And we're just going to pour it all in. This is the really simple part of this whole process. I know I have some air bubbles in my resin. I'm starting to wonder if the batch of resin I've got here, if there's like something, it cures fine. It's curing fine. It's just I'm finding, every time I mix it up, I mixed up manually, that I'm getting lots of air bubbles in it. And I'm not used to that with this brand. I like my brand. It's Magic Resin. I do like it. It's a good resin. I don't know whether there's something different about these bottles that I just recently got, or sort of what the but I'm finding I'm getting lots of air bubbles in it, and I don't know why. So I'm about halfway through it, so we'll see. But anyway, I figured 40 would give me sort of a nice base in this. It'll give me lots of room, like the diameter of this piece will give me lots of room to, you know, play with my alcohol inks. And I'm going to go over those a little bit with you. I'm just going to speak to what I sort of know. I don't work with these a lot, and so if there is anyone watching this video who is, you know, sort of leaps and bounds ahead of me, I would take any tips. Like I said, I was watching one of Tim Holtz's videos on alcohol inks, and he was going through it. I didn't see the whole video because my attention span was starting to wane a little bit, and so I stopped watching, which is normal for me. So I'm just spreading this out. I've got stuff in my resin. That will be from my cup that I used, I know that. I've got air bubbles, as I say. Filling that little hole, I'm just going to get my, there they are, other glasses so I can see where some spots are to try and pull some of the stuff out of my resin. Again, it's a test piece, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm a little particular that way. It's red glitter. Glitter gets everywhere, doesn't it? Okay, I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes. I'll let the air bubbles pop. I've got a nice sort of amount of resin in here. Sort of just going to go around all the edges to make sure. And I have resin everywhere I want it to be. And then we'll talk a little bit about the inks and some of the other things, because I have something sort of, you'll find it amusing if you've watched my other videos with me working with alcohol inks. Oh, I saw something in this and now I've lost it. There's a black something or other. And I'm looking to see if I've got any spots along the sides where I don't have resin. That's sort of why I went around the edges like I did, because I really want to make sure I got resin everywhere. I don't want any gaps between the sides. Like I want resin everywhere. And there's a black piece. Or a red piece. Oh, come on. Let go. There we go. It's right on the bottom. Okay, I'll have a look at that in a few minutes. We'll talk about our resin, or our alcohol inks, and then we will let that sit, and then we'll come back when we're ready to actually play with the alcohol. So, you've seen me with this distress ink, or picket fence, and I've said don't put this in your resin. When it comes to what I'm going to be doing once this is hardened, I will be able to use this. This should work. One of the things, oh, sugar plum fairies, it's leaking. Huh. Well, I'm really glad that I have my resin covered up. I don't know why. Anyways, I'll have to clean that up. And the lid's not on tighter. There's something. Anyways, so one of the things I had seen, and if I recall correctly, that the alcohol blending solution is something you would want to use, I believe, with the white picket, like with this distress ink, the white stuff. Isn't that good, white stuff? The mixatives and the alloys, he said as well, you would want to use alcohol blending solution. So I've got my alcohol blending solution available. I will watch more of his video to see him and what he does with the mixatives. knowing that I can use this because my resin will be hardened, that should make a difference in my life, right? And then just some of the random colors I pulled out. I have one pearl, and this is Intrigue that I want to use. I have Stream, Ginger, Rosewood, and this is one of my absolute, I love this color. I love this color. And then we have Wild Plum. And I know they seem a little odd for some of the colors I've got, but we're going to play, and I'm going to do my best just not to go too crazy when I, apply these, and I want to sort of use some of the tips and tricks. I'm going to be using my, oh my gosh, I got this stuff everywhere. I am so glad, so glad I put that cover on. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to be using is this guy so that we can blow our alcohol ink around. That's what it's meant for. So yeah, this is going to be sort of a, I don't know if it's a reverse engineered, but I just wanted to try something a little different. Instead of mixing it in, let's put it on top. Let's see if we can't, sort of move it around, let it dry up, and then pour our next batch of resin on top of it. And then, put some mixed mold on top of that and see if the mixed mold, will hopefully stick. And having it be a nice white background, how that's going to look at the end of the day. Or maybe it's just a matter of, I feel like, I'm sorry, I just have white everywhere now. Like, look. Anyway, thank God I didn't get it on my pants. But yeah, I just thought it might be something a little different that we could do, even if you just did it from a resin perspective and had the alcohol ink inside the resin versus it being mixed into the resin. So it's one of those things that comes up when you're, in bed at night and go, ooh, what about this? So I'm going to make sure or do the best to see about air bubbles in there and getting rid of them so we don't have many of them. And I will come back and we will get started with, randomly throwing alcohol ink onto it, and see what happens. I'm kind of looking forward to doing this. So when I'm ready to bring you back, we'll come back and we'll carry on with this experiment. I'll see you then. We are ready to carry on. I did finish watching the Tim Holtz video on alcohol inks, and I did learn a lot, which was cool. And I am realizing that if I really want to get good working with these, I'm going to have, as he would say, he says, you just do you. And what I love when I listen to him is that he always makes it okay that if you make a mess, just to keep going until you get things figured out. And you never know what you're going to get out of what you do. Right? Which I think is a brilliant thing to say. Because, with my resin, the things I do that, they go sideways. But if I work with them a little bit more and a little bit more, I get them where I want them to be and where I'm happy with them. So, I like that there are other artists out there that, have that mentality of just keep working with something because you don't know what sort of, in and amongst what you've done that is going to turn out beautiful. Sort of once you play with it a little bit. So playing, I think, is very important when it comes to being an artist, a creative. That's how you learn. That's how you get better at your trade. Okay, now, when I was watching this video, I was sure he had mentioned about the Distress Ink picket fence, but he did not. He talked about the white mixative. So I'm taking this out of the equation. I need to play with this to see what I can do. There's a Distress Ink pad that is picket fence that he did in another video. So I think this is just the refill bottle for it. So this is coming out of the equation for now, and I'll start playing and see if I can't, bring it in somehow somewhere else. The other thing I did was I put I have these little bottles here. I've got all kinds of them. Don't use them very often, but I put 99% isopropyl alcohol in this one. So we could see about not spritzing, about getting stuff to move around. And I also did that with the blending solution. He made it very clear this was not to be sprayed, that you only use something like this, or you use the bottle itself to put this down. He mentioned this has resin in it. You do not want to spray this. You want to use a bottle like this or right out of this bottle. And I know there are other bottles that have a totally different lid on them and have a different top. So mine, just to show you what mine looks like. So mine just has a little hole, but the other bottle that he was working with had sort of like a cone top on it, similar to what your UV resin tops look like, you know, sort of to give you an idea. Or here, I'll even take the lid off of this. Not like this, but similar to this idea in the other bottle. So you want to disperse of this out of this bottle or out of something like this. That's it. That's all. He made that very clear. He also had made it very clear that you use the blending solution with the mixatives, the alloys, and the pearls. And he showed examples. He had a almost 3-hour video on how to work with this. And the video was from 2 weeks ago. So if you look up Tim Holtz, if you want to know about alcohol inks, you may not care. But I wanted to know because of what we're doing here. But it was a 3-hour video, and he took you through a lot of information. Some of it I skipped through, but at least he gave, you know, some really good information, which I appreciated. So what we're going to do is, and I got thinking about, as I'm watching his video, like when we're putting this product down, like we're going to get to see how it looks this way up, but I'm not really going to know what the bottom looks like. So that's sort of one thing it's going to be curious about, as to how the other side's going to look once, you know, we get this out of here. I'm not 100% sure how much space I'm going to have for the mixed mold, but we'll see what we can do with that. I'm going to work on putting a very thin layer over the alcohol ink once we're done, and I'll do that off camera. You don't need to see that. And then I'll bring you back when it's time to do the mixed mold. Because that's such a quick and easy process. And then we can get this piece out and see how we did overall. So the first thing I want to do is, because I've been chatting for a little bit, is I'm just going to spray this off in case there's anything on it. And I do that very carefully. And try not to get too close to it, because I got a little bit of a mark from that. That's okay. So I should have shook these up before I got on camera. That's okay. You like to listen to that, right? Should do them together. And I don't know how much I'm going to do of either or, but I just thought, well, if the blending solution has resin in it and we're working with resin, we should be good. And like I said, I want to play with this a little. I'm going to be very curious to know how this works out for us. If it's something that, you know, I know a lot of people work with alcohol inks. One of my friends, she does a lot of work. She works on tiles and on canvases. But you could get into everything, but I can't get into everything. All right, let's hope I've got enough of that blended up. And that is, well, looking pretty good. And he also commented that because these need to be shook up so much, you always want to put your lids back on those ones. But he commented that these don't need to be shook up. I usually do, but if Tim says no, then I'm not going to worry about it. So where are we going to start? I think because I want to put some blending solution, we'll start with these two first. And again, this is just random. I am not an expert in this. So if you ask me questions on this, I might just have to point you to a video. But let's see what happens if we just put a few drops down. And I don't know how resin's going to react to that. I don't know. We do not know how any of this is going to react. And these are, and as he said, always open your bottles away from wherever, because like mine are, they're messy. So I'll just wipe that off so maybe don't get any. And we'll just put a drop. Like I say, I don't know what any of this is going to do. I haven't got a clue. So we'll get this out and we'll blow it and see. I don't know what we're going to get, people. And I might put a couple more drops down because I don't want... He showed what would happen if you didn't use the blending solution. And it really does make a difference. So I figure if Tim says you put down blending solution, then you put down blending solution. He showed what would happen if you didn't use it. So, yeah. So let's get some other colors. And it was also what was really cool was he showed black, alcohol ink, and mushroom. And what they did, I'm just going to take the lids right off of this. When you blew them out, oh man, it was so cool. So I have black. I don't think I have mushroom, but it was so neat to see what these colors did by themselves, like how they turned out. It was so cool. So now I'm just going to put some of the, and hopefully I can blow this out. Now I can put alcohol, just regular alcohol down. And use some of the like isopropyl with this. Oh, and I know one item I don't have over here, which I wish I did. But anyway, it's over in my, it's in my other room somewhere. Oops, I want to make sure. He had his cap set out like this. So I thought, well, I'll do that too, but I need to make sure I put my colors back in front of the right cap, right? Yeah, I'm wondering if I want to put more of this alcohol down. Like I'm saying, I'm not the expert here. I'm just playing. Don't put it back where it belongs, Natalie. And I don't think I want a lot of this because I don't, like when he was doing it, I mean, he could play and mix it up some more, but I'm kind of limited to what I can do. When I say that, I mean it from the perspective of like what's on the underside. So I want to kind of be careful. And he also said you don't need to apply a lot of pressure to this. I think I'm probably applying more pressure than I need to. Put some more alcohol down. I think I'm going to put some more blending solution down too, so I can add some more of the, but I'll get this moved first. So again, I had asked, like, if you work with alcohol inks, I'd love to know what you think of them. And if, you know, I can't do it with that hand. If you've worked with resin, have you done something like this? You know, it's another idea of, you know, what we can do in the resin world. Yeah, maybe shouldn't be spreading it out like that. Again, I'm learning. I'm getting alcohol ink on me. Oops, that came out. Did some more here somewhere. And he commented that these guys like to pull themselves back together. Like you can put them out, but they like to pull themselves together. If that makes any sense. Like you blow it out and then it just seems to want to stream back together. Which I found interesting. What I might do is link his video. Because, I found it very interesting. Dun, 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 dun. Let's go with something like, I've got some of that over there. Let's put some of this here. I think I'm going to put some alcohol down. Because I can. Right? Put that there. Yeah, so it's climbing up the sides. I think I'll put some of this here. Oops. I think it looks interesting. Now I am going to put some alcohol in these spots where there isn't any, to see if I can't sort of move it around the sides a little bit. Now it's pulling in, which is interesting. So I think I want to see if I can't get it out. And then we'll have to let it dry before I put anything on, like put my resin on top. And it may not help that it's around the sides like that, but I'm hoping that once it dries, we'll be okay. Drop it out there. Drop there. Yeah. And hopefully, yeah, we'll have to just see, right? There. Drop that there, drop that there. Well, it looks like a hot mess, but you know what? I don't mind it. I don't mind it. It's my hot mess, right? Now I'm just curious if I put a couple of drops of this in the center, if I can get anything to move, and I don't think I can really. Oops. Touchdown. So, bit of a hot mess. A little bit of a hot mess, but that's okay, right? This is sort of for experimental purposes. I don't mind how that looks. Of course, again, I don't know what this is going to look like on the other side, and I'm just curious. I have my heat gun, but I don't want to put that on here. But maybe what we'll do is I'll let this sit for a few minutes. I don't mind some of the negative spots I've got on here. That's okay. Because then what will happen is when I put my next layer down, because it'll be clear as well, and then the white will show through. So that might be kind of cool. But we'll let this dry up a little bit, and then what I might carefully do is turn it over so we can see what the other side looks like. I don't think I want to do that right now. And I want to be really careful when I lift this up that I don't pull it away. But yeah, I don't mind how that looks. A little bit of every color in there. So let's get the lids back on. For these ones, you're going to want to make really sure you get your proper lids back on, your colors. So there's no question. I've done that before. Put the wrong lid on the wrong bottle. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. But, see if I can figure out how these lids go back on. Yeah, these little bottles, I got these, wow, a long time ago. And I've got some UV resin in one. I think I got 50 of them in a package, and I've maybe used, what, 5 of them? That looks pretty cool. Let's see what I can... Yeah. So that's what we're looking like. There, we'll do that. I'm going to lift it up and see if I can see. Actually, that doesn't look too bad, people. Okay, so that's... I'm going to trust I can turn this over. We're going to do this. I don't think any of the alcohol, I think it's drying up pretty good. So I'm very carefully there. Okay, so can you kind of see? It's not really clear, but so we'll do, all right. So what I'll do is I say I'll mix up my resin. I did 40 mils. I think I said that. I had done 40 mils to do on the bottom of this. I'm going to let this dry completely because I don't want the resin impacted, and I don't know if it will. I have no idea if it's going to do anything or if the alcohol will just sit there the way it is. I don't know, but we're going to do, I figure about 20 mils. I'm hoping that'll do. I'll probably make up 40 mils and throw the other 20 somewhere if I have too much, but my intention is just to cover this. That's really all I want to do. So I'll do that, and then when that's all done, we'll come back together and we'll get the mixed mold mixed up and poured, and we will see how it looks. So stay tuned. We are ready to carry on. I'm liking how this turned out. I'm noticing I've got some little flecks in it of dust, which, you know, isn't helpful, but, you know, it is what it is. I used to hate that saying when they told me that at work. But anyway, before we get on to pouring the Resincrete on top of this, I want to show you something else. So I'm just going to cover this back up briefly, and I'll blow off to see if I can't get, in case there's any other dust on this. But I had some leftover resin, so I made these flat squares, rectangles, Natalie, because I have an idea for them, but that's not really the reason I want to show this to you. The reason I want to show this to you is because I used the blue from the Starry collection of Light Wish, and I thought, well, since I've done it, I might as well show it to you, and let's see what color it's going to perhaps show up best on. I don't know how well. Get my hands out of the way. I'm hoping you can see. There we go. I'm hoping you can see the blue in that. And again, I was very light with it. I think that, for me, is the best way to do it. So I'm... Can you see that blue on the black? Hopefully you can. So there it is on the black. No, definitely not. That needs to go in a dark color. Yeah, that does nothing for it, does it? No, never mind. Okay, so the black's the color. So that's kind of helpful if we ever go to back it, is to use a dark color with that. But I thought I would show you what the blue looked like. Also, I had one of my subscribers mention about putting the trees in the sleigh that I had made. And if I can... I know we're diverging off course, but that's okay because I want to show you something. So anyways, one of my subscribers commented about my sleigh and whether or not the trees would fit in. So I individually tried each of the trees in. So there you go. They will fit. And they also suggested to me that I give this another chance as far as making it out of the mixed mold and using the supports in it. I'm giving some thought to doing that again, but anyways, they wanted to know if these trees would fit in, and they do. So I don't know how much bigger we could go. I do have some bigger trees in the other room, so I may see just how big I can go because they look kind of cute. Anyway, I thought I would show that to you before we carried on. So you could use it as the sleigh as a tree carrier. And you could actually, if you wanted to, is put something underneath it so you could actually lift it up a little bit. Then you just need the reindeer in front of it, and you know, maybe a little Santa in it. I know I'm going totally off course now, but that's what happens when I start thinking and people give me ideas. So this piece, let's get to it. I think that one's going to be too big, so we'll bring in one of my smaller sticks. So this is how it looks. Get that shine off of it. That's that side. And I'm going to very carefully. Now, there is the possibility, I won't deny it, that my mixed mold may not stick to this. I'm hoping it does, because I think it'd be really cool to see what the white behind it would look like. And if it comes apart, it comes apart. But at least I think it's going to be really cool to have done it this way. It just gives you another version of how to use the alcohol inks. And I will admit, I was playing with my my alcohol inks, and I actually did try the Light Wish Starry series. I'm gonna have to get good at saying that. Anyway, I did do that on some Yupo paper that I had. The Starry Light Wish product doesn't really dry properly, so I don't recommend doing that. I actually ended up wiping off my Yupo paper and starting all over again with just alcohol inks. So if you have the Light Wish, I don't recommend it, because it just wasn't setting up on the Yupo paper. So just stick with your alcohol inks or your mixatives or your alloys when you're working on that, or something else, but don't use those. Anyways, I just thought I'd share that with you. So I have mixed up 30 mil, 30 grams, call it whatever you want. And I have my water, plus I have a little bit of extra if I need it. And then if I have any left over, I'm going to do another one of these in it. And I might color it. Although I don't have a really pretty color out, but that's, I guess if I'm going to color it, I really should have a pretty color out. But you know what? I'll just use garnet. Okay, let's get going on this. And I'm just, as I said, I'm just leaving this white. But even just by itself, I really like that. I think it's very pretty. And I don't know what's going to happen when we take this out as to whether or not there would be any alcohol that is along the sides that hasn't dried, but to me that would be a really easy just go around and wipe it kind of thing. So I don't foresee that being a big deal. Oh, I'm going to have to blow it. I got a piece of white on it. Okay. That. I see it right over there. Okay, if you're not going to come off, I'm going to do this the other way. Let go. Yes, it really doesn't matter, but that's annoying. I hate when things get stuck in my resin, but anyways, okay. I don't have time to play with that. And I think the 30 is just going to be enough. I might put more on this. Yeah, 30 would be enough. Okay. It would almost be maybe worthwhile to just let this set up and then pour resin over top of that. I don't know whether I want to do that or not. I would have thought 30 would fill it up more than that. Okay, I think what I might, now I'm undecided what I want to do with that. Because I don't like pouring mixed mold right over top once I've poured it, because I don't feel like I get it mixed up fast enough. And because this is already set, you know, trying to bounce it down and smooth it out is going to be more of a challenge. So I have sort of two choices. One, oh, actually I have three. One, I do nothing else. We take it out and see what happens. Two, I add some mixed mold when this is set for about half an hour. Three, I put a coat of resin over top of this instead of doing more mixed mold. And I don't really know what I want to do. So I'm going to let you go. Well, I've made a decision. I'm just looking at the sides here. Yeah, it's probably not a lot in there, is there? Well. Anyway, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to figure out what I want to do with this, and I'll see you shortly. And I am back. Okay, I made a decision. I am not doing anything to this. I got thinking about it, and one of the things that might have been a better option is to have used polyurethane on this. So I'm going to recommend that maybe if you have any, use that instead of the mixed mold. I didn't want to add more mixed mold because I thought, well, if it separates, it just doesn't make sense to, you know, have more mixed mold that I have to, you know, sort of figure out. So I just decided, you know, leave it. I also thought if you put resin over top and it separates, then you still have an issue and you've used up resin that you don't necessarily want to use. So I've left it alone. I haven't done anything to it, which, as you know, is kind of unusual for me, but whatever. Let's carry on. So let's very carefully take this out, and hopefully it sticks together. And let's see how it looks. If nothing else, this gives us an idea of what this would look like. And, you know, next time it would probably be a wiser choice on my part to just either use polyurethane or use regular resin and just make it white. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, it was like, I want to use mixed mold. So there you have it. It's a very thin coating of the mixed mold too, like very thin. As I say, I had thought maybe my 30 would be more than sufficient, but you know, calculations off and off. There you go. I'm trying to be really careful because I don't want to pull that mixed mold away from it. Okay, here we go, people. What do you think? I'm going to say I'm impressed. When this idea came to me, I'm going to have to let this sit. And I think maybe because it's such a big piece of resin, it's set better. Now I'm seriously going to have to look at my table, because I know the thickness of this is not the same all the way around this. I seriously am going to have to do some double checking of my table for sure. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Get my hand out of the way. What do you think? So we have that's a little sparkle right there. So we have created an ink piece within resin without actually mixing it in resin, where it's sealed in. I think that's pretty cool. And I really do. I like the white background because it allows the colors to be very vibrant. If I'd gone darker, let's say I'd done black, I don't think it would have been near as nice because of all these dark spots in here. I think it would have taken away from it. So my recommendation, if you're going to do this, is be aware of the fact that you can't see this side of it. You're only going to see the other side. So I'd probably be more on this, let's not throw so much on it versus just throwing too much on it, right? Like this, I think it's simple. I think it's really pretty. I like that I put gold in here. I like the white background. Next time I would either use white 2-part epoxy, or I would use polyurethane versus the mix to mold. I mean, the nice thing about the mix to mold is it's a pure white. The polyurethane is as well. But I mean, I do like the mix to mold on this. So let's just flip this over. You're not able to see through the white. I mean, it's white. You could, again, if you wanted to, as I'm all covered, you could do something on this side and then cover it with resin. That's an option. Seal it, do nothing with it. That's an option. It just depends. Are you like me? I just want to get back. Are you like me that you want something on both sides, or do you not care? So there are your options. But yeah, I'm going to show you the sides on this again. So you can see how thick this is on this side. If we turn that around, like it's not. So I really have to figure out why. And I wondered if it was the mold, but I mean, it should be flat. And the height should be the same all the way around. Yeah, I got to figure that one out. Because that's way too much of a difference there. Way too much of a difference, right? Yeah. Weird. I don't get it. But anyways, I'll figure it out. So there we have it. And I think that's really pretty. I really like how that turned out. So as I say, it's another option for us as a resin creator. What we could do. Now, if you wanted to do this on the mix to mold, you definitely have to seal it. Otherwise, I just foresee your alcohol ink sinking into your mix to mold. Because to me, even though it sets, I would still be concerned that it would be too porous, and the alcohol inks, you wouldn't be able to move them around at all. So keep that in mind. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think of that. I think that's pretty cool. I could see doing more of this, because you know the top, like you're not going to impact the alcohol ink now that it's inside. Now, the one thing I did notice a little bit now that I'm thinking about, when I put the resin on top of the alcohol inks, I think it was some of my blue sort of shifted a little bit under the mixing of the resin. I don't know if the red did as well, but I had noticed it with the sort of tealish color, that it kind of sort of pulled away from what was there and sort of floated around, but nothing major. But yeah, I really like how that turned out. It has me wanting to make more. Anyway, again, I hope you've enjoyed this video. We're going to let that sit and wipe my hands off because I've got stuff all over me now. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's, gives you more inspiration on something different that you can do. And yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think. If this is something you could see yourself doing. I mean, if you don't have alcohol inks, maybe at some point you get them and you try that out. But yeah, I just want to turn over. I like seeing the other side better. I definitely like that. I think it's very cool. Very cool. And even if you wanted to, if you had some, and this becomes the tricky part, if you had like something you could put down on the clear resin first and then do your alcohol inks around it. But again, you'd have to be really careful of the colors you use. But yeah, I really like that. I think that came out really cool. I can definitely see doing more of this moving forward. And I think what I really like is that it's sealed in the resin. Now, I guess the other thing, I know I want to let you go. As far as this, if you put this in the sunlight, would it fade? That I don't know. So that might be something I want to do, is make another one and then just see if it would fade or not. But I never recommend. So that's one thing I tell people, I don't care how I've made your resin piece, don't leave it in the sun where it's going to get sun 24/7. Because, I mean, to me, the sun will fade anything. I don't care what it is. The sun's going to fade things. And this would be no exception. But yeah, that's really cool. Anyway, there you go. I'm done chatting now. I hope you have a great day, whatever creativity you're getting up to of trying this. Take care. Bye for now.